Yeah, it'll probably be very similar to what we did this past Friday, which will be different than what we've done in the past. We'll probably go offense versus defense. Offense on one sideline, defense on the other sideline, to help our O-line out, and then also to get enough special team situations in between. Some of the periods will be thud, some of the periods will be live, so we will get some live work. But there's some players that aren't cleared for live, but they are cleared for thud, so it allows us to get more guys reps. So it won't be a traditional spring game like we've had in the past. We're working on a scoring system right now. Some people have done this in the past. I've never really done it before, so we're looking into that. I don't want to make it overly complicated, but we're working on that right now. But it'll be offense versus defense, more of a practice type structure. But there will be some live periods for the fans and the media to see.
James, you're back to a kind of typical blue-white weekend for the first time in a few years. How important is that for recruiting, and how big is this weekend in general in terms of moving forward recruiting? Yeah,
excited. I was a little worried with the blizzard that we had yesterday or whatever that was, but the weather's beautiful today. I think it'll be great. Obviously last year, getting the fans back was big. Being able to have a traditional spring game like we've had here in the past. I mean, we've had anywhere between 60 and 75,000 fans. It's great for the community, the hotels, the restaurants, the bars. It's been a real positive, for a number of reasons besides just Penn State football. It's important to the entire community and the university as a whole. It's a lot of different activities that are built around the weekend. So I'm excited. I'm excited that we're getting back to more of a normal calendar year. It'd be really good for some of our young players to be able to play in Beaver Stadium with some fans in there, and it'll be on the Big Ten Network as well. So there's a lot of positives that can come from.
From the recruiting perspective, what kind of groundwork can you lay having guys on campus and seeing all the stuff you just talked about, as opposed to just a regular practice, whether it's now or in the summer?
Yeah, I think it helps. It's valuable. It gives you the closest thing to a game weekend that you have. I'd make the argument, some of the practices are really impactful as well because you get more time with them. The spring game, literally, if you guys saw my calendar, it's crazy. Friday's crazy, Saturday's crazy, Sunday's crazy. We have official visits as well. There's a lot of different things going on. So I think there's tremendous value coming out here to a practice where you get a little bit more, individual interactions. But the energy of a spring game, the tailgating, the RVs, as we all know, we're special. We're one of the special places in the country because of all those things. So it's great for these guys to be able to experience it.
Do you feel like you have more answers than you had a month ago?
Yeah, I think so. Defensively, I think we got a foundation laid with some of the wrinkles and some of the tweaks that we've made. So I think that's been really good. You've really seen the last couple practices us play faster and more aggressive. Having a decent Isaac back, having Sal Wormley, those guys back, I think has been really important. The addition of the new guys that came in January, being able to figure out who they are and how much they'll be able to impact us, for game one, Purdue. There'll be another wave of guys that I think are able to impact probably after the bye week. But yeah, I think we got a better feel of who and what we can be. Obviously, we got more depth at the quarterback position. So yeah, I think we got a better feel. We got some guys that were unavailable last year for a number of reasons, and those guys are trending in the right direction. And hopefully, they'll be back as well. So yeah, I think we got more answers. There's still going to be a lot of answers and a lot of work to be done before the first game, but obviously we know more than we did before.
James, yesterday Kevon Lee talked about a really motivated running back unit and the message that J1 Slater delivered this offseason. How do you think they've responded to the adversity coming out of 2021?
Well, yeah, obviously, first of all, we didn't have the production that we wanted, and it's not just on them. There was a number of factors for that. But then on top of that, you bring in two talented, high school players, that are competing at a pretty high level right now. That's impacted it as well. So I think everybody is feeling the heat and the competitive juices, which I think is great. I think we're a program that embraces the competition, and I think that's tested, more than ever in college football right now, because you see a lot of programs and you see a lot of kids that are taking the easy way out. I'm not saying all kids are doing that, but some guys are. They're avoiding competition, so far I've been pleased with how we've embraced it.
James, you mentioned guys trending, I guess, coming back. How's PJ's rehabilitation been this spring, and where's he at right now?
Really good. He's excited. He's with the training staff for most of the practice, and then he's with the strength staff for most of the practice, except for the team periods. Then he's out there supporting and coaching his teammates. But really good. He's excited. He sent me a video the other day of him running. He's gotten the new knee brace that he really likes as well. So I think, from everybody I've talked to, including PJ, I think he's a little bit ahead of schedule. But I also think we're taking a fairly conservative approach, knowing that, he's played a lot of football for us, and most importantly, we got to have him ready, for Purdue and for the season.
James, Nick Tarburton talked about how he's kind of grown as a player and leader this spring. I'm curious what you've seen from him and how you think he's going to be able to build off of playing a full season last year.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that's, pretty much universally kind of respected throughout our program, from his peers, from the strength staff, the training staff, the coaches, pretty much everybody. I mean, he's a blue collar, throwback, type of player. He could have played in any generation. This generation, he would have fit in the locker room in the 70s. He's that type of guy. So we love him. He's kind of, we talk about kind of keystone guys in our program. I think he's one of those guys that maybe doesn't get the fanfare of some others, but he is like a critical, piece of our locker room and of our team. It won't surprise me if he doesn't have a big year for us this year, because he does everything right. He does everything right, and those guys, when they keep making those types of investments, they usually get a return at some point. Last year started it, and I think you can build on it.
James, you guys added a lot of analysts this past offseason, one of them, of course, being Gabe Infante. What has Gabe meant to you guys, and how has he kind of factored in?
Yeah, we really didn't add a lot of analysts. The analyst positions usually turn over because they're guys that are looking for full-time work. I think we may have added 2, but yeah, different people in the building, because you hope those guys are able to either get a full-time job at Penn State, or they're able to go get a full-time job back in the NFL or college, which is typically the situation. But yeah, I think it's, we're always keeping our eyes open for that. Sometimes it really makes sense contractually, based on their contract at their former employer. So whenever we have the opportunity to be able to bring experienced guys into our building that are good cultural fits, manpower is important in any industry, and ours as well. So having Wiz back has been great. Having Danny Rocco, guy I think's been a head coach for 16 years, Gabe Infante, Frank Leonard. There's a lot of years of football in that group. So we're excited about having them.
How can you assess the? Excuse me, I stayed a bug. How do you assess the quarterback competition at this point? Obviously, no coach has ever benefited from saying there isn't a competition.
Yep.
But obviously, Sean is sort of the leader in the clubhouse experience-wise. But when you have that depth, how do you balance what you have with what you're not sure what you have yet? How quickly do you make that decision, especially with spring being done and summer being right around there?
And with our O-line situation, that's challenging, because we've been able to get the guys a bunch of Skelly reps, but not enough team reps. So really the last 2 practices, we shut Sean down, not out of the entire practice, but out of periods of the practice, to allow the 3 other quarterbacks to get more team reps, with an offensive line, with protection calls and those types of things. So I think that's been really valuable. We'll get a chance to watch his film, but it was last practice and this practice that we were able to do that. That's where you have to be really creative, because when you are in a situation like we are with the O-line, if you're not careful, it will stunt the development of other positions, specifically quarterback. So, Vayu's gotten a bunch of reps to build off of what he did last year. I know, talking to the two true freshmen, they weren't really sure how many reps that they were going to get. They've gotten more than they thought they were going to get. That probably would be a good thing if you could remind me, Chris. I'll run the numbers and see how many reps that they've gotten, and have that available for you guys the next time I've seen you. But they've gotten a good amount of reps. So I've been pleased with that overall. You'd always want more, but pretty good. I think we got a pretty good feel. Obviously Sean, but Christian, where he's at, Bo and Drew. They've gotten enough work that you got to feel. I wouldn't say that any decisions have been made, but you got a pretty good feel of what you got with those guys.
James, you mentioned Landon as a first teamer. Going into the spring, I know it's a light list of offensive linemen, but how do you feel like he's progressed through this spring practice period, kind of going toward the summer in that role?
Yeah, he was doing really well. He got dinged up. He missed a number of practices, but he was doing really well. That's going to be a competition. We got some guys coming in. We got some transfers. There'll be some really good competition on the offensive line. The hard part is these guys that pretty much went all spring without missing. I think Juice, Caden, and Olu went the entire spring, and their rep count was through the roof because of our numbers on the O-line. So those guys, they've gotten significantly better, and it's gonna be challenging for guys to come in and compete with them. But there'll be a pretty good competition, I think, across the offensive line. And as you guys have seen, we're bringing in a number of them, because we've lost a number, even guys that help us from a practice perspective.
Thanks, Coach.